Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and a game between Alone versus XiaoKai, and unfortunately, I don't know which one's which. They're both going to be playing Undead, so I believe what Cow Show versus, and what we'll see it's going to be over here, Neo, you love you. Um, I don't know which one's Alone and I don't know which one's a XiaoKai, and just to make it a little bit more difficult for me, one's blue and the other one's sky blue. Now, I know a lot of you Undead players out there are like, hey, I want you to cast more Undead games. Why can't you cast an Undead game where Undead wins? And this was the only way I can guarantee this for you for WarCraft Wednesdays, so here you go. Now, you can already see a very interesting strategy coming in, who I believe I will just call Blue Xiao just because he has the X in his name. So Xiao spawning, I hope I'm not incorrect, as the blue undead player. Meanwhile, Alone spawning as the sky blue undead as well. I guess Alone could have Love You in his name. That does make a little sense if you're alone. Actually, I won't even get into that. This is going to be on Last Refuge. This was taken from a tournament called RTS not too long ago. And once again, have to turn to China to get a lot of tournaments for Warcraft 3. Now, Tomb of Relics, a graveyard now being placed down. It looks like it is going to be an Altar of Darkness for an earlier Death Knight coming in from Alone. Meanwhile, Xiao going in for Crypt Fiends early, so you're going to see 2 or 3 ghouls and then going into Crypt Fiends, most likely as another Ziggurat needs to complete. Tomb of Relics about to be completed, or excuse me, already started, as the Altar of Darkness now should be training up perhaps a Death Knight as well, or is he going to go for a Tavern Hero? Acolyte has made its way all the way down across on the far side of the map. We'll be able to get some good scouting information, figuring out what the strategy will be. Sees the graveyard has been finished, but probably doesn't know all too much. Tomb of Relics about halfway done, and it looks like the Death Knight is already out. Gonna pick up a Rod of Necromancy and perhaps try to do a little bit of creeping at this point in the game. Now, we'll see whether or not the Acolyte has taken down any critters. I have known Acolytes to purposely kill a skeleton or kill a critter on the map just so the Rod of Necromancy can bring something forward, as we now see the Acolyte still wandering around. Acolyte attacking very slowly up against a crypt, as we now see there is a sheep, and it looks like Alone is going to try to come in for a bit of harassment. The Death Knight over here, though, of Xiao is already going to be out, so I don't know how effective Alone's harassment's really going to be here, as we now see a Crypt Fiend out. So Death Knight and a Crypt Fiend battling it out, the Acolyte getting in a little bit of damage as both sides fighting, but Alone is in a little bit of trouble, as now we see the Skeletal Minion is trying to make its way into the back over here. How much damage can be dealt? As you can see, a couple Acolytes now trying to back off. One Skeletal Minion will get taken out by that Nerubian Tower, that cold tower there. Skeletal Minions now attacking both Death Knights, and we'll see who will come out on top. So far, what a second did yes, he actually used 2 charges, so he got another set of skeletons from his opponent's graveyard, and that actually helped him out. And now we will see how much damage this Skeletal Minion will suffer. It looks like it will just wake up some creeps instead, or sit right by here. As now we see Alone moving back. We are teching the Tier 2 Halls of the Dead, however, still at Necropolis for Xiao. So Xiao going to be in a little bit of trouble, as he will be behind, perhaps even getting that Lich and all those important statues as well. Now, we'll see what the strategy is going to be, as Skeletal Minions moving around with some Crypt Fiends. The Death Knight once again tries to push in, but isn't going to be able to get a lot of damage, but still utilizing that graveyard against his opponent. The Nerubian Tower is slowing down these Skeletal Minions, and now it looks like Xiao will end up getting to level 2 after taking down these Skeletal Minions. So, nicely done. Already up to level 2, has Unholy Aura, as now we see Alone making his way in with this Death Knight as well. The Death Knight still sitting at level 1, doesn't have that much experience, and that may be a bit of a problem. But he does have the slight tech advantage. We'll see if that translates into anything. As Halls of the Dead nearing completion, he could try to pick up a Tavern Hero. Dark Ranger could be a good choice, but maybe a Lich. We'll see what's going to happen, as Xiao looking to do a bit more creeping, picking up a Scroll of the Beast as well. Very nice item, even just to sell, as it is worth 200 gold. And now this skeletal minion, down to 3 hit points, is going to be doing a bit of scouting. We'll see what Alone's going to be doing over here. We now have Ogre Warriors trying to take down the Crypt Fiend. Ogre Magi making its way over. The Crypt Fiends need to deal a bit of damage, as we see that we are going to have the creep out of the Goblin Merchant Shop. The Goblin Merchant Shop over here from Xiao, he may be able to get in a creep steal, as we are going to see the Death Knight. Oh, there is a Death Coil saving a low hit point, but there is the creep steal coming in from Xiao, as he now gets up to level 3. So level 2 Death Coil versus level 1 Death Coil. And there's also Unholy Aura to boot, making Xiao's Death Knight a little bit more difficult to take out, as he does get natural or more regeneration, regenerating hit points a little bit more quickly. Skeletal minions battling it out. Who's going to come out on top, as we still have level 1 versus level 3, and another Scroll of the Beast stolen. So that is a 400 gold advantage there, as we now see both sides continuing this fight. The Death Knight is not going to be able to get any true damage onto that Crypt Fiend unless a Lich pops out of nowhere, gets in a nice Frost Nova, and pulls and slows down that unit. We're going to see another Death Coil healing it, though, as Xiao does have enough mana to do exactly that. The Troll Trapper may get taken out here. It looks like, yes, it will be taken out, but now another Ensnare, as Alone is in trouble. Alone getting caught out of position, behind on level, and constantly trying to fight in a situation that's not very good for him at all. Xiao just simply dominating this game, as we now see a Shade coming in. So we are now getting a Shade. Are we at... No, we are already taking a tier 3, and we are now getting... Where is a... Yes, a Lich is going to be added. It is going to get an Orb of Darkness. And what Alone really needs to try to capitalize on this, as the Sacrificial Pit is out, and this Acolyte is just going to keep track of what's going on over here. More Ziggurats being added. We are going into a Black Citadel, a Slaughterhouse being added as well, as Alone now finally going to get to level 2 at the 7-minute mark of this game. Nice Claws of Attack +6 picked up as well, as the Lich now going to join in on the fight. Perhaps Claws of Attack will be transferred over to the Lich, in addition to that Orb of Darkness. The Lich, so far, we haven't seen what ability it's going for. It looks as though what is this Death Knight going to do? Is it going to sell any items, or what is it going to pick up? Perhaps a Staff of Teleportation. Or no, just a standard potion of Lesser Invulnerability, as the Rock Golem absorbing a lot of damage from Crypt Fiends. So far, the Lich, and I believe it got off a Frost Nova, but I'm not quite sure what it hit, as there is no Frost Armor that I see. The Death Coil now saving a nice... an additional +1 armor for the Devotion Aura, as we now see an engagement here. The Death Knight is getting slowed down. There's another Frost Nova, and this might be a very, very bad battle. There's a Roar, and now being forced to use a Scroll of Town Portal, Potion of Lesser Invulnerability, as one side is going to come out. Skeletal minions trying to take down Acolytes. It looks like one Acolyte has already fallen. A second Acolyte may fall. No, it does not, as we are now perhaps going into statues. No, the Slaughterhouse has not trained a single statue yet, so the Death Knight is going to have a very difficult time trying to regenerate those hit points. Even with Unholy Aura, you can see even on Blight, it doesn't regenerate that quickly. Now we'll see what's going to happen off over here. The Lich of Xiao does have Orb of Corruption, removing the armor, neutralizing that inner fire ability. There's a Dust of Appearance, as a Frost Nova onto a Shade after a Dust of Appearance to reveal. So nicely done. Now level 4 on the Death Knight. The Lich is still sitting at level 1, should be able to get to level 2. Not quite sure why it's not going to take down the Troll High Priest. It will get taken out very, very quickly. -5 armor, taking an additional 27 damage. And now we have a Lich at level 2. Death Knight sitting at level 2 off over here. Where is the Lich? I don't... Oh, Lich is sitting right next to it. Orb of Corruption and Claws of Attack +6, as I imagined. And we'll see how these players will creep each other out. Dark Ranger has been picked up by Xiao, so it is going to be a tri-hero with Silence. So whoever gets off the Silence first will be able to deal more damage, and that is very important. The Shade, however, of Alone may be able to keep track and perhaps get an earlier Silence if he does try to go for his own Dark Ranger. It looks as though the Draven hero, yes, is going to pick up a Dark Ranger now. The Dark Ranger going to be returning back. I don't believe the Crypt Fiends have spotted it, as the Shade now just keeping track of those units there. We are going to have another round of creeping, as the Dark Ranger most likely does have silence. Who's going to come out ahead? It's going to be interesting to note, as where's the silence? Yeah, the silence on all or 2 of the 3 heroes, as the units are backing off. You can see that the Ogre Magi currently has taken up a lot of damage so far. There's a Frost Nova stealing once more, as it is now a double Wand of the Wind. So Cyclone heavily used. Who's going to come out on top? Both sides still fighting. It looks like Xiao does have the advantage there. Another nice Death Coil, and there's a Wand of the Wind coming in. It does not last very long, though. Perhaps should be trying to pick up a couple Crypt Fiends instead to minimize the damage. Destroyer taking a lot of damage, as another silence comes across, and now Xiao in a bit of a trouble, but taking down one Destroyer first. Abominations will be able to absorb a lot of that damage. We'll see how this is all going to work out. Double Gloves of Haste on a Lich to make him attack very quickly, spreading around that -5 armor. So far, the Obsidian Statue keeping the units alive. We'll see how this will work, as the Death Knight sitting at level 2, Lich sitting at level 2, Dark Ranger sitting at level 1 for who I believe to be alone. Meanwhile, Xiao now sitting at a 4/2/2, getting level 2 on the Dark Ranger now. And we'll see what the Dark Ranger does invest in. And it will be Black Arrow, or I believe or is it Dark Arrow? Is it Black Arrow? Yeah, it is Black Arrow. Yeah, so Black Arrow now causing even more skeletal minions. But that may be a blessing in disguise, especially with Destroyers. The Destroyers can devour magic and then be able to get mana and deal a lot more splash damage as well. We're going to see a nice silence here. Both sides battling out. There's a Dust of Appearance, and now a Dust of Appearance now perhaps taking down one skeletal minion. Ring of Protection has now been picked up, so Alone able to come back and steal an item. It looks like the Destroyer is going to get taken out, but Crypt Fiend also getting taken out as well. Another round of silence now for Alone, as Abomination's coming back in. There is another Cyclone. It should be dropped down momentarily. And now there is the surround. The Death Knight is surrounded. The Death Knight maybe perhaps be able to finish off the Abomination. No, the Abomination able to barely escape after a nice Death Coil from the level 4 Death Knight, healing 400 hit points. And we'll see what's going to continue to happen, as we now see a Dark Ritual being used by the Lich in order to regenerate some mana. Level 3, level 1, level 2, level 1 versus a 4/2/2 still. Both sides creeping now. No, 4/3/2. Dark Ranger still seeing that level 2 very low on mana, just because of that Black Arrow. Should perhaps be a little bit more careful about that, as the Death Knight of Alone, excuse me, finally getting up to level 3 for level 2 Death Coil, level 3 Lich now, so things are starting to even out a bit. The Dark Ranger gets to level 2, so it's 4/3/2 versus 3/3/2, which is definitely in favor of Alone, as Alone was very far behind not too long ago. Death Knight now looking to push in, and it looks as though it may be a bit of a creepjack here, getting in some easy damage. And what is going to happen? There is that Devotion Aura, the Devotion Aura giving an additional +3 armor, as not quite sure who wants to engage who. Death Knight still has plenty of Wands of the Wind to use, has illusions as well, and oh, the Obsidian Statue taking a lot of damage. Has to be very careful. -5 armor, and it might get destroyed. But the Death Knight really over pushing itself. The Obsidian Statue down to 30 hit points. One more attack from a Crypt Fiend should take it down. Who's coming out on top? A nice Crypt Fiend has burrowed. And now more burrowing Crypt Fiends, but that is not working out all too well still. 2 burrowed Crypt Fiends, they are not revealed. And we'll see what's going to happen here as an Abomination gets taken out. Or was that a sacrifice? Not quite sure on the animation, as a Destroyer now up in the air. The Destroyers are up in the air, but a quick round of Web will take it down very quickly. Not quite sure why Alone did that at all, as both sides are just microing these battles, trying to come out on top. Xiao is doing a great job of just constantly burrowing these low hit point Crypt Fiends and minimizing his losses. Alone down at 40/60. Meanwhile, Xiao is at 48/60. You can see all of these semi-low hit point Crypt Fiends after they burrowed, staying alive a little bit longer. Now Dark Ranger trying to do a bit of creeping. There are double obsidian statues here. Will it be enough? A shockwave not hitting that much. Frost Nova trying to attempt to take down this Ogre Lord and get a nice item. It is going to be Django Endurance Aura. So it now has Endurance Aura on the Undead Army plus Unholy Aura. That is going to be a very fast moving army of Crypt Fiends. The Crypt Fiends also attack 10% faster. Very, very fast movement speed at this point, as they are now walking by the tavern. We'll see who's going to be able to level up once more. If Xiao gets to level 5, that will be a huge advantage. Level 3 Death Coil, 600 hit point heals. As level 5 does happen, the Death Knight needs to back away if it doesn't want to steal any experience. The Death Knight of alone sitting at level 3, selling a Mantle of Intelligence, and Dark Ranger still sitting at level 2. Giant Sea Turtle looks to be trying to take out that Lich. The Lich doesn't have Frost Armor, but will be able to take it out very quickly. And a Ring of Regeneration picked up as well. That may be sold, as now we see another round of creeping going on. So both players have been battling each other and then trying to move away. What the Death Knights and Illusions are trying to look for the rest of that army and doesn't see them. There are red creep camps across the map, but it looks like Alone choosing the right combination in order to stay alive. The Death Knight has Devotion Aura as well, and a Tome of Intelligence being left behind. Who's gonna be able to engage better? It looks as though we may have a fight here in just a moment, perhaps trying to go to the high ground and get in better positioning. And who's gonna come out on top? There's a couple Abominations, only one Obsidian statue here, as both sides are gonna engage. There is a nice silence coming in on both sides. Abominations taking a lot of damage, Destroyers taking a lot of damage as well. Who's coming out on top? Another round of Frost Nova, and it looks like Alone's Death Knight taking a lot of damage. And what now? Xiao's Abomination getting destroyed. So both sides just losing lots of units, as I believe that was a Death Pack being picked up. So a Death Pack, picked up in order to save the Death Knight and keep it alive a bit longer. Scroll of Town Portal now used as well, in addition to Potion of Lesser Invulnerability. All the units were able to teleport away, but Xiao actually looks a little bit worse for hurt there, as he's now at 43 over 70 versus 42 over 60. So the food advantage is not as good, especially when you consider the amount of units that Xiao is training up an Abomination, training up a Crypt Fiend, and training up Banshees as well. And he's at 46 over 70, so his standing armor is actually slightly smaller. Destroyer is about to join in now, attempting to try to take down the Ogre Lord. You can see that there are Troll Berserkers over here as well. They're going to be trying to pull it away. Lich at level 3, Death Knight at level 3. Ogre Lord finally coming in, a Shockwave doing a lot of damage, as the Destroyers are tanking a little bit. They could devour magic, and now in comes for a Creepjack. The Death Knight does pick up a Scroll of Healing, and did it use it? Yes, it actually used it, even though there wasn't a real reason to, as both sides are still continuing this fight. And now in comes Anti-Magic Shell, and that is going to be huge. Anti-Magic Shell absorbing a lot of damage, so no Frost Nova across these units. Are we going to see? Yes, one Crypt Fiend does fall. There's a web being cast on the Destroyer there, and that is going to be perhaps the beginning of the end. Alone did battle his way back, but he never really took any serious lead in this game. And it now looks like Xiao, with those Banshees, have the proper counter to the Destroyers and also any Abominations, as those Banshees would be able to possess any Abominations as well. So a lot of damage would be absorbed. We'll see what's going to happen here. There are still some creep camps left to creep out. Both sides looking to creep in just a few more seconds, as we see the Death Knight seen at level 3, level 3, level 3 versus a level 5, level 4, I believe. Where is the Lich? Level 4. Where is the Dark Ranger? Everything has a glow. Good gosh. There it is. Level 3. So the 5-4-3 versus 4-3-3, but Xiao should get to level 4 in the Dark Ranger there. So 5-4-4 now to what it is going to be 4-3-3. It could be 4-4-4. No, just slightly shy. So the Lich is not going to get nearly as much mana, and we'll see what's going to come of this, as the Dark Ritual will only be level 1. Now, It may not be even that important as the Crypt Fiends may have a lot of just anti-magic shell. You can see a shade is now keeping track. There is no more creeping on the map at all. The Django Endurance Aura plus these triple auras may be enough to help, as that is an additional +1 armor, plus 20% movement speed, plus 10 attack speed, and plus an attack speed. But look at all of this anti-magic shell absorbing, I believe it's 400 damage, or is it 200? I forget the stats, but it does absorb some amount of damage, meaning that the destroyers aren't going to be doing anything for quite some time. Now you're going to see the units trying to pull away. There's a quip web onto the destroyer. The destroyer, both sides units are going to try to focus each other down, and there is some damage. There is a silence being cast. Another trying to heal. There you go. Another burrowed unit. Skeletal or Dark Rangers or the Dark Minion now coming out from level 2 Black Arrow, even fighting inside the opponent's base. Not too much for Xiao, as Xiao just simply with so much anti-magic shell, a load is in trouble. The Abomination could be possessed if the Banshees decided to, and that could be a bit of a problem, but I think the Banshees are pretty much happy where they are at, and that should end up being GG, and there it is. There's the game. Alone losing game 1 in this series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed game 1. Stay tuned for game 2.